Qué sacrificio olvidarte si te quiero como se quiere.
Project Adelante is a family literacy project which uses children's literature in English and Spanish to improve family literacy skills, to expand cultural awareness, and to foster a high sense of self-esteem and cultural pride. One of the key components of the program is bringing in authors and artists to work with the children and their families in our community. Each visitor comes for a period of 3 days to do workshops with students, teachers, and both family literacy groups, Libros y Familias for the Spanish-speaking community, and Books and Families for the English-speaking community. This year we've brought 4 authors and artists to our project. Lucha Corpi, author of Where Fireflies Dance; Anthony Brown, composer, jazz drummer, and ethnomusicologist, who did a music workshop based around the book I See the Rhythm; Mira Reisberg, illustrator of Uncle Nacho's Hat and Leaving for America; and Francisco Alarcon, Chicano poet and author of Laughing Tomatoes and From the Belly Button of the Moon. During their stay with us, each one was able to share their perspectives and personal experiences relating to culture, language, and literacy.
My father used to say one thing to my sister and me when he used to insist that we had an equal education, equal access to schooling as my brothers. He used to say that when you educate a man, you educate an individual, but when you educate a woman, you educate a whole family.
If you're made to feel bad about who you are or what you are, I think that's the first thing you have to overcome, is don't let other people make you feel bad because you're not like them. You should understand that every person is an individual. We come into this alone and we leave alone.
And I'm Jewish, and where I grew up, we were the only Jews, and the only thing that the kids around me knew about Jews was that they killed Jesus. So my family was not very popular. And that's a big part of why I do the kind of work that I do. And what's very important to me is cultural inclusion, is that for all kids to feel really good about who they are and what their culture is.
We all human beings share the same dream, and we are dreamers. And I think what we need to do is to really let people fulfill their dreams. And I think that is very important. It doesn't really matter if you come from a peasant background, or you come from Latin America, you come from Hong Kong, you've been in New York for many generations. We all have the same dreams, I think.
I believe that I was very privileged in that sense of having lived in a very small community and being a daughter in a family where my father believed that daughters should get the same and equal education to the boys in the family. And I feel very fortunate because I think many women, many girls in this world do not have that opportunity. And perhaps in some ways when I teach, I feel that I am passing on that legacy, that privilege to others. My only advice really is to keep reading, because I think it opens worlds that reading, it's been said so many times, an open book is an open window to a world, to a universe. And that love for reading for one's own enjoyment, not just for school, I think comes from having someone stimulate that reading since we're very young.
I think that we all identify ourselves through our music. It's the experience of the Japanese internment. Those young people that were interned, the Japanese Americans, they identified themselves as Americans, self-identified as Americans. Here they were playing jazz in the camps, and meanwhile, the rest of the nation is looking, or at least the government is viewing them as traitors and an alien enemy. So music serves as a vehicle for identification, and it serves as a vehicle for education. My mother, my own mother, won't even though she prides herself on being, proclaiming, I'm 100% Japanese, that's her talking. She doesn't recognize me as Japanese at all, and it's an old mindset among the Japanese that unless you're 100% Japanese, you're not Japanese at all. So this is just kind of a very interesting irony and almost hypocrisy going on. My mother knows that I'm her son, but she doesn't consider me Japanese.
My parents are both dead, and they died when I was young. And my grandparents were killed in the Holocaust, and all my extended family is dead. And so I don't have any real, I know the names of 3 of my grandparents, and that's it. That's all. I know that my grandmother, who I was named after, was religious, and that's all I know. So that's a real missing link. And doing that book, Leaving for America, I had a lot of ghosts to deal with doing it, and it was very healing for me to do it, and very wonderful. And that's why I really encourage children to find out as much as they can, because you never know how long you're around for. You really don't. And it was an activity that was geared around culture, basically, what kind of culture you come from. And I really believe that you can't really know who you are, or it's very difficult to know who you are if you don't know where you come from and what your roots are and what your heritage is. When I was growing up, the only people that looked like me in children's books was the Wicked Witch. And it was not a good thing. It was horrible. It's funny, but it's awful too. You know, all the good people were blonde and all the bad people were dark-haired.
Ya no juegues con mi honra, barrandera. Si tus cariños deben ser míos de nadie más.
That there are not really enough books written for Latino kids at this moment. I have now 6 nephews and nieces, and I wanted to basically buy books for them, and I went to different libraries and bookstores trying to find books, and I did not find that many books really written for them. And I said, wow, this is incredible. I was not even aware that there was a huge gap for books for especially younger age Latinos, and so that's why I started to write poems for children in Spanish. So Spanish is actually one of those languages that really have different shades and colors and shapes, and I really celebrate the difference. I think it's wonderful to celebrate differences. We Latinos in the States, we don't have a reflection of ourselves yet, and I think that affects kids. You come to school, you never really see that many books on you. You don't see movies on you. You don't see programs on you. So you start feeling like you are somehow in the margins of society. Somehow you have no reflection. And I think that's why it's so important for artists and writers and teachers to present a mirror to say to the kid, listen, you're not that weird. You're real. You're a human being. You have the dreams that everybody has. And so it's very important for you to recognize yourself as part of a society. And I think that's something that I like to do in my own work. And that's why I think I wanted to do textbooks for teaching Spanish to kids learning Spanish, and not as a foreign language, but as a native tongue.